This is delightful. I'm so glad we came here. Feel those vibrations at Camp Video Games. Campers, we're back. This is episode 9 of the Legend of Zelda animated series. This is Stinging a Stinger. I am your junior counselor, Sean, and this fella with some pretzels in his mouth.
I'm junior counselor Josh. We finally got a delivery of snacks to camp. I'm trying to get into them before the kids get them.
Yeah, we got a care package from the U.S. military. They dropped off some emergency rations here because head counselor Mayonnaise has depleted our food budget, and we have resorted to foraging, much like our buddy Link in The Legend of Zelda.
Yo, if your MRE package says Korea 1952, is it still safe to eat?
As long as there's no black mold on it and it smells like food, I think you can deal with it. Like there's this great YouTube channel. It's Steve 1989 MRE or Steve MRE in 1989, some equivalent of that. And it's like a first person perspective of a guy eating ancient MREs, which if you're not familiar, an MRE is a meal ready to eat. It's those vacuum packed foods that you see people like when they're camping or soldiers in the field eat. It can be eaten cold, or they come with like these like flameless ration heaters that I don't know what the chemical is, but like when you add water to these like tablets, they like emit heat. I think it's like the same idea as like those hot hands that people keep in their pockets when they're roasting chestnuts on an open fire.
When you go see that Ohio State football and it's mid-December, your hands are all cold, you got to put them on with your mittens. Anyway, so Stinging a Stinger. Another
sorry.
Bob Forward joint. Lots of fun, cute little puns happening with this one as we will learn the layer of it people might miss is the concept of what a sting being sort of another name for like a con.
Flam. That went over my head completely.
Yeah. But anyway, let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay. This one starts off in Hyrule Forest. Link is like reclining on Catherine, his horse. Wait a second. Catherine the Great, wasn't she like killed by having a horse sit on her? I'm gonna do some real time. I'm gonna do some real time research. Josh, why don't you tell us what's going on as Link is in the forest there?
So Link is doing the classic schoolyard loves me not, pulling petals off of a flower, laying on his back on his horse. Real horse girl stuff. Link is like full on horse girl at the opening of this episode. Before he runs into some fellas out in the woods. And this is interesting in the series because it's his first experience, I think, fighting humanoids. In terms of like sort of being in a rumble. You know, he's been in a lot of like one-on group rumbles.
For sure.
And there's a curiously designed sort of guy he's rescuing in this rumble.
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, I have to go back just a little bit. Beep, 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 beep. This is a Camp Video Games exclusive. Okay, an urban legend claims that Catherine the Great died as a result of attempting sexual intercourse with a stallion. The story holds that the harness holding the horse above her broke and she was crushed.
Well, speaking of your horse girls, am I right?
Jesus Christ, dude. They are making a reference to that in this cartoon 100%. Link, his horse is named Catherine. That is not a coincidence. That is too weird a name.
And that's like the kind of like dirty, like so many layers deep reference.
The kind of cartoon that would try to show you upskirts of the main hero every time
an animator would want to make.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Or not an animator. This would be the writer in this case.
Bob Forward, shame on you.
But we still love you because we'd love if you'd come on the show at some point.
Bob, you'll talk to anyone, right? Like, come on, man. We're doing you a favor. Maybe, I don't think you're making any money on this show at this point, unless you just have appearance fees or something. I don't know. Sorry, Bob. I love you actually. But shame on you. Okay, so Link, yeah, he's doing that forget-me-not. He finds these ruffians who are harassing a kind of a anti-Semitic. He looks kind of like a goblin. He's got that like hook nose.
And where does the design from the goblins come from? Kind of.
J.K. Rowling is a villain.
Yeah, well, modern. Yeah, J.K. Rowling. When J.K. Rowling does it, it's like we're far enough along in our understanding of culture, history, and how media plays out that it's like shame on you. In the case of whoever designed this character. We weren't aware of how much, like white supremacy, patriarchy was sort of dominating every last layer of culture and media. Yeah. That there was like, oh, this is what a goblin looks like, and he's kind of a goblin-y guy, and like, but now it's like, oh no,
yeah, because during the commentary for this episode, and if you'd like to listen to our commentaries of every episode of the Legend of Zelda animated series and more, why don't you give us a subscription at patreon.com/campvideogames, and you can hear us talk even more about the Legend of Zelda and beyond. While talking through that episode, I described what this old man was doing is he's being a shyster, and that's what kind of like drove us through this like wormhole of being like, oh god, everything's problematic. No one's directly being harassed, but it's all these like little cultural touch points that are just like, ugh, like it just leaves you feeling a little yucky.
It all adds up into your brain to have a certain opinion about a certain, ethnic group, as it were, and that's just how white supremacy works. It's not even intended harm at a certain point. It's just kind of like, I don't know, this is an easy way to show that this guy's a little shady.
Yeah, white supremacy can often manifest in inaction as much as it manifests in malicious action. So
that is to say, Bob Forward did nothing wrong. He was just following cultural zeitgeist.
I was just following orders.
No!
Okay, when Link swings into action to defend the old man from the ruffians, I call him like, this is him going like, he's going full Batman. Like he screams out, "It's hero time!" And these big guys. These guys are like twice Link's size. And I think this is the first time we've seen him fight his fellow man.
Yeah.
Besides the one little duel he had with Sing the ninja in Sing for the Unicorn.
Yeah.
It's I think it's the only time we've seen Link fight a human or a Hylian.
Yeah, and that his blade is actually used to cut things. Shoot beams.
He chops one of the ruffians like wooden clubs, and the top of it like falls off and knocks out the wielder, which reminds me again of the troll in Sorcerer's Stone. Mm-hmm. Harry does I think Ron does the Wingardium Leviosa spell on the club and knocks the troll out with its own weapon.
Yeah, well, that being said, this is also there's a lot of this little dust up with this batch of guys feels the most that I've seen in the show so far. That feels consistent to Zelda of today, where it's got this vibe of sort of like a dust up with a camp of bokoblins.
For sure, where you see an NPC yelling for help, Link's you as the player swing in, and then they'll give you a mushroom cake or whatever.
Yeah, and like the types of weapons they're carrying are very similar.
They've got one's got like a fishing spear, like a two-pronged fishing spear.
Interesting. Yeah.
And Link he like so they throw the spear at Link, and he like defensively slice. You know that Three Stooges gag where they try to poke you in the eyes and you put up your hand to block it, like in front of your nose so they can't hit it. He does that with his sword, cuts through the spear, and boing, boing, it like nails the tree behind him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Looney Tunes classic cartoon-esque physical comedy played out in this. We talked about how culturally we understand as the Sideshow Bob stepping on the rake thing happens, which comes from
what a good bit.
I'm sure either Three Stooges or Looney Tunes kind of stuff. Or even, I mean, further back, you'd have, I don't know about the specific stepping on something, but I'm thinking of like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, physical comedy.
Sure. Yeah, some like classic black and white physical comedy.
Yeah, but there was one other thought I had about this little segment here that I'm losing. Never mind, we can go on.
Well, the rake bit to me, it reminds me of a Wile E. Coyote thing where he set up some sort of trap and then it backfires and the coyote gets hurt instead of the Roadrunner. Yeah, these goons, they're oafish. We learn, so they run off after Link gives them a little taste of Hylian justice. We learn that the old man's name is Sneeze Nose.
Come on, man.
Sneeze Nose.
Come on.
At least it's not like Sneeze Nosenstein. Or, come on, man. I know. But he's a peddler, and he cons Link into trading swords. Basically, he gives Link a scimitar, or what was the reference you made of the kind of sword it is?
There's this episode of Always Sunny where Charlie and somebody else are digging through a dump.
I think it's Frank, probably.
Yeah, and he finds a scimitar, and the rest of the episode he keeps referring to it as his Alibaba sword. Which is like, I don't know, maybe you could say that's racist, but it's like, it's fine. It's funny.
Geographically, it makes sense. Like the scimitar, was derived from that region.
Yeah, that's the joke they're making. It's just like, oh, Charlie's an idiot.
So okay, his name is Sneeze Nose. So Sneeze Nose, he might as well be named Shylock. Like, so Sneeze Nose, God damn it, Sneeze Nose gives Link the scimitar, and convinces Link to give him his sword, because the Alibaba sword has an aphrodisiac effect to it that will make any woman fall in love with the man equipped with that sword.
I love like how stoked the con man is that he's like, oh my gosh, I found the greatest mark of all time. I can say anything. It just like, and like Link's asking like, does it even make princesses like you? He's like, yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
He's like, yes, got his ass.
Link hears a cry for help from Zelda, and she's getting chased by some demonic flying eyeballs. And really, it does remind me of the Eyes of Malice from Breath of the Wild, except they got little like angel wings on them. But his new sword breaks as a result of like using it for like one swing. It immediately shatters.
Yeah.
And which again gave me like a Breath of the Wild like flashback. And as soon as the sword breaks, Ganon swoops in. He's got moblins and captures Zelda and Link. We then go to the Piggy Palace.
And
go for it.
We were trying to figure out what the deal with these eyeball monster things were. And I'm looking at Zeldapedia.
Yeah.
And literally the only
Zelda 2, there are floating eyeballs that I remember now.
That's okay. I think maybe this Zeldapedia, I don't know if they have it disambiguated from that or they missed it, but they don't even cite it until Phantom Hourglass is the closest thing. And then they literally call it an eyeball monster.
Yeah, I remember, now
that you mention it, I remember the eyeballs that can just fly.
Exactly, and they would like on the sine waves that you have to avoid them as they like float in these like kind of radar like patterns.
It's almost like Zelda 2 in some ways, in like Zelda canon and fandom can get the sort of like, oh, Mario 2 was just a reskin of Doki Doki Panic treatment. Where like people are like, it was too different that it doesn't count.
Yeah. But okay. Zelda 2, I was thinking about Zelda 2 recently just because it's a part of my childhood. It's like when I think of Zelda, I literally do think of Zelda 2 more than I think of the first Zelda, just because that's what I grew up playing. And I mentioned this a little bit way back when, but the game it reminds me the most of is Castlevania 2, specifically Simon's Quest. I think that's what it's called. And only because it has these like RPG elements. It's a side-scrolling platformer action and adventure game with RPG elements, and they share a couple of sound effects, which is I'm sure Nintendo had like a small library of games because let's see, Konami, I believe, made Castlevania. But it's still a first-party game from Nintendo. Whatever.
It's got the Nintendo seal of quality.
Absolutely.
That was the big, important detail.
So, okay. Zelda and Link, they get captured by Ganon and his forces after Link's like fake sword broke. I bet the sword breaks. Link's like, I swear this has never happened to me before. Maybe just give me a minute. So Ganon's got them chained up, crucifixion style. And he monologues at his prisoners. He's like, I'm going to exchange you for the Triforce. He's like, he wants to a hostage demand. What is that called? Where like, I'm holding someone hostage. I've got a list of demands.
Yeah.
Right. Negotiation. Yeah. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Except we super do. USA.
USA.
Zelda to Link, she says, quote, "You're supposed to save me. That's your job." Oh, man. I'm going to go into a little bit of a sidebar just because I went down a little hole while I was watching this episode. And I started to kind of like make some very broad and loose comparisons between Link as a character and Steve Urkel as a character from Family Matters. Okay, first and foremost, they both are in love with a woman who doesn't love them back necessarily. For Link, it's Zelda. For Steve Urkel, it's Laura.
Yeah, who like uses that to their advantage.
Yes,
to get the character to do things.
They'll manipulate the other the man to do stuff in exchange for possibly starting a relationship or having a physical connection. They both have really irritating catchphrases. For Steve Urkel, when I started going down a list of his different catchphrases, it's because for me it's always been, "Did I do that?"
Right.
Like that was the main Steve Urkel one, but apparently he had other ones too. Like I don't have them written down, but I think one was like, "I'm not going to stand for this," or something like that. I don't know. It just seems the 80s were a time for these tropes to be really like fortified in pop culture, where there's like an incel who's got catchphrases, who's getting manipulated by a beautiful woman.
Do I really? Do you need me to come in with the patriarchal lens? That of course. Who were these shows being written by? Guys who went to top schools, not knowing that like you're being handed everything in life as a matter of privilege. Like school was easy for you. It was easy for you to get into, English or writing at Yale or Harvard because of all the privileges of your education, of being a white male with wealthy parents. I don't know if there were black writers on Family Matters. I hope there were, but it's like that's kind of the people who were in writers' rooms at the time. And like the only ones that sort of had any self-awareness of it were the Simpsons writers who... And that's why that show holds up in the early years, It's because they were able to be satirical outside of that instead of being like, we need to make this character who's a trope of all the hardships I've put up with and how hard it is to get women.
There's that comic book guy?
Yeah.
Did they retire Apu as a character? Do you keep up with it still?
I would never watch a Simpsons episode that's been made after like 2000 at this point. But yes, they did retire Apu.
I heard Barney got sober too.
Yeah, there was actually kind of a nice reckoning because I'm going to quickly explain. There's this comedian, I forget his name, but
sounds great.
God, what's his name? Harry Kevin. Well, it's racist now that I forgot his name. Kevin something. He did this thing like He did this documentary that's called like The Problem with Apu.
Oh, I heard about that.
And it's like he was right, but it was like it just came out at this moment that it was just like the identity politics stuff was like in the comedy circles was kind of groan worthy.
Yeah.
So everybody's like kind of annoyed with him. But on The Simpsons, they were like, nah, he is right. We'll get rid of Apu.
Wow.
And then to sort of like push back against the pushback, Frank Hank Azaria,
Yeah.
who did his voice and all the other voices, has also come out and been like, no, Harry's right. Like, I didn't know better at the time. We were just that was just, you know, the way things were. Like, and acknowledging, like, it was just, yeah, a bunch of white guys. Like, what do we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And trying to like bridge the gap between like the comedians are like, shut the fuck up, you're annoying with your woke shit, you know, and the fact that it's like, well, he was kind of right. There was some podcast I listened to recently that both of them were on. It might have been like Code Switch or something. That was a really nice sort of like reckoning of that, which maybe we need to do that with this character.
Sleaze nose?
Sleaze nose. Yeah, whatever. God, jeez. It was just kind of a nice way to sort of reckon like the record exists. Yeah, we fucked up. Let's all move on together.
You know, it's my intention to make camp video games as massively popular as The Simpsons. So much so that like
it seems easy.
They're going to make documentaries about like one small facet of our production that is problematic.
Yeah.
Enough that like
That'd be
it's
great.
documentary worthy and people will talk about it like it's an actually important social.
Yeah, you know, I think I lay the ground. I really do a good job of playing both sides. I've laid the groundwork. There's something problematic I've done.
Well, if I ever am made aware of anything problematic that I've done in the show, I'll just have to say, did I do that? Okay, back to stinging a stinger. Sleaze Nose. He shows up to the Piggy Palace and he tries to sell Ganon the sword for 1,000 rupees.
Like, it's like this episode basically like is Merchant of Venice.
Oh man. Okay, Ganon, he just has some moblins pick him up and throw Sleaze Nose to Goma, who's you know, I think Goma's been around since the very beginning too.
Yes.
But
Goma was the boss of Dungeon 6.
God damn, dude, that's awesome. Big spider, crab, scorpion monster. Super cool. Big eye. One big eye. Okay. Ganon throws Sleaze Nose to the Goma and then takes the sword.
Sleaze Nose goes, but I brought you my pound of flesh.
Oh, come on.
I'm just quoting Shakespeare.
See, that's the Camp Video Games Criterion Collection. So Zelda and Link, they're about to get eaten by Goma alongside Sleaze Nose. Link, he's like, you know, let's go out on a smooch. Zelda says, quote, we're about to be crab bait and he's feeling romantic. Come on, you guys. Zelda, what do you want? What do you want out
What
of
is
this?
that fourth Wally, he's being romantic? Like, is she talking to us?
This guy. Yeah, I know. That's some lazy TV writing,
Yeah.
or at least we've well, unfortunately, I've watched some like modern TV shows, and we've not really aged out of that kind of bullshit. But you know, I don't know. To me, that's just bad. So okay, Link grabs Sleaze Nose by his ankles and shakes out all of the things in his pockets. Zelda, she has a rope. Link has a boomerang. And Sleaze Nose, he's got some lock picks.
Yeah.
So, okay. Zelda lassos.
Some lock picks.
Oh, man. Don't be shy about it. Okay.
Bad.
Zelda throws a lasso around Goma, but then she gets spun around. Like, she's like the weight counterpoint to this lasso that's getting tied around Goma. Link boomerangs a stalactite and smashes Goma, which gets tangled up from Zelda's momentum. So now we've got Goma all tied up, and Zelda, she's way too dizzy for a smooch. You smooch
Always got a convenient excuse.
You're gonna smooch Zelda. At this point, she'll throw up in your mouth, which some people pay extra for. Okay, Sleaze Nose picks the lock, tries to leave without them, but they escape with him to the castle, with Sleaze Nose kind of as a captive now.
Yeah, I just want to make one note about how funny the Goma is after they wrap it up. It's like... it is a one-eyed monster, but the degree to which it's like emotionlessly, like its eyeball is just steady and it's just moving its arms back and forth. Like, hey, please untie me. It's very funny.
Okay, we're back at Hyrule Castle. Zelda asks the Triforce of Wisdom what to do. The Triforce says, and I quote, "When magical means will not suffice, use natural means as your device."
This is so good.
I want to.
I love that.
I really want. This is going to be a little Camp Video Games side project that I'd like to do. I want to find all of the dialogue from the Triforce of Wisdom and then add them over a hip hop beat and like get a nice little Zelda rap. Maybe it'll be as good as the DK
We should
rap.
wrap it to the credits song from the Mario Super Show.
Oh, man,
In the same style as Captain Lou.
Swing your arms. I can do that whole from memory, but I'm not going to. Okay. Zelda and Sprite, when they're told this piece of information from the Triforce of Wisdom, they go, "Oh, you mean use bugs and stuff?" That's what they say. Use bugs and stuff.
Why does their brain go to bugs?
Their brain goes to bugs, man, because I don't know. I really don't know. So they force Sleaze Nose to collect some bees while Link digs up ants.
I'm sorry, what do they do to Sleaze Nose first?
Oh, first they put him in a little beekeeper helmet and suit where it looks a little like he's a Clans member.
There's a lot going on.
It's, oh man, making a...
They put him in a white hood.
I assume there's no Jewish KKK members, right?
I don't think so. I doubt it. It'd be like that Chappelle Show sketch.
Oh,
Clayton
yeah.
Bixby thing.
Or like something straight out of Blazing Saddles. Or, I assume, like, okay, use natural means to your device or whatever. Like, my brain immediately goes to some Ewok traps.
Yeah, or I go to like Breath of the Wild physics mentality of like, oh, you've got to use wood weapons.
Crush
you
them
can't
with a
use
boulder.
your metal that's been forged by a blacksmith kind of thing.
I like that.
But no, literally
Bugs
bees and
and stuff.
bugs only.
Okay, so what happens? Ganon is approaching the castle. He's on a warpath. He's got some Stalfos. He's riding a giant like millipede or whatever.
God, I love when he rides the millipede bug thing.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so funny. It's so good.
He's got, I know there's some Stalfos. I'm assuming there's probably some Moblins there too. So Sleaze Nose, he comes up. This is the point where he's got the white flag. He's got a little white flag. He's waving it, and he's like, Ganon's like, you should be digesting by now or whatever. And Sleaze Nose admits that he escapes, but that he stole the Triforce from Link and Zelda, and he's got it here in this little treasure chest. Now, if you're like a mob boss, which is how I'll equate Ganon, if someone comes to you with like someone who you've just imprisoned and wronged, like, and they come like bearing a gift, you should be suspicious of that gift. Like, it's not going to be the one thing that you've been waging a war on the kingdom of Hyrule for like decades. He's not going to just give you that. Like, especially Sleaze Nose, who we know to be like a money grubbing peddler. And so Ganon's an idiot, basically. He takes the treasure chest, opens it up. Not the bees! Not the bees!
He goes full Wicker Man. It also reminds me, this is such a niche reference. I'm going to attempt, I wish I had it set up on the soundboard ahead of time. I'm going to attempt to find a clip I think I found of it. It's like this Aqua Teens Hunger Force quote that just like lives in my brain.
Yeah.
And comes up probably once a week of Meatwad. Hold on. I'm going to try to play it. Wait. Okay, let's try this again. Like Meatwad does this exact same bit to Carl and Shake for some reason. He gives them a box full of bees. And he goes, "Bees, boy," and then runs away. And like I was just giggling so much thinking about that through this whole bit.
I'll tell you this: I am not like a heavy drug user, but when the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie came out, like that must have been like 2008, maybe.
Mm-hmm. It was around. It was earlier, 06. I remember just because of. I remember watching it in my college apartment that we were discussing earlier.
Oh yeah, Robot House.
Yeah.
I went to a theater to watch it opening night, and I don't remember the movie because I took Valium, and I feel like that
that's not the fun. Like, let's watch this crazy movie. Drug.
It was a different time of my life.
I like that you like didn't know like what drugs to do for like watching something.
Well, that's good. It's good that I don't know how to do drugs because I don't do drugs. Yeah. So like let's just stay ignorant of that.
Yeah, it's like the answer is always
set.
like just weed.
Yeah, just smoke weed. I love, whatever. Let's talk about reggae for a second. One of the most important things that reggae music did for me was like strongly speak against the use of cocaine. Uh-huh. There's so many songs that are like no cocaine, smoke weed only, basically is their messaging. And that was like, that seems so shallow and silly, but like that actually helped me like say no to coke.
Yeah, that's
as a younger
hilarious.
person. I've never done cocaine before. I've smoked a lot of weed in my life.
Yeah.
And never overdosed. And that's the end of Sean's drug chat.
Well,
in this episode.
This is a great episode. This is a great episode to watch, with just a little bit of cannabis in the system. Maybe I'm gonna expand on the reggae weed connection.
Yeah, go for it,
real quick. We do side tangents. It's fine. That's what the show is.
As we progress, it'll probably just become side tangents.
I forget if I've told you about this in this Lee Scratch Perry documentary I watched. When he worked with, who was it? The Congos? Is that the name of the band? That they were a brand of like Rastafari, the Congos. That he called them the Dread Rastas, and I don't get too much into it because I don't understand sort of the racial like tie-ins and stuff. But his take was like their brand of Rastafari did not respect weed spiritually, and they smoked too much weed while he was working with them and brought bad energy into the studio, and the only way he could fix it and get like the bad spirits of people smoking too much weed was to burn his own studio down and start over.
Oh my god, man, schizophrenia rules, dude.
Yeah, he rocks.
It's for meditation. It's not.
Yeah, that was very much his take. It's like you're supposed to use it as a spiritual aid, not as a dissociative.
No, trust these two middle-aged white guys from the Midwest. We know exactly what we're talking about concerning
Rastafarianism and cannabis and the connection to its spirituality. Of course, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Damn, dude, you playing ska right now? Although that is a classic rhythm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not just the Sublime song. What is that rhythm called? It's Slang Tang.
Yeah.
I believe it's called Slang Tang.
We need to know a little bit. Please don't cancel us.
I've listened to reggae since I had access to my own music. Basically, it's always been important to me. I've sometimes wondered if I was like at any point in my life that I've just like completely blocked out, if I was like kidnapped by Rastafarians and like I'm just like trying to come to terms with whatever happened. But I don't think so. I think they're generally not kidnapping me. I don't know what they would want with me, honestly.
Yeah, but anyway, so the bees,
not the bees. Okay, so Sleazenose, I think actually Sleazenose thinks that he did steal the Triforce, right? Because Link and Zelda before at the castle. Zelda hid the Triforce under Link's dirty laundry, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is funny because I don't think we see that happen. We just see that for some reason that scene is staged in front of his dirty laundry.
It's because this show streamlined, efficient storytelling. That's definitely the reason why. It's not
Bob Ford's a master of telling the story in 11 minutes.
He's the voice of a generation. Okay, yeah. So Sleazenose actually thought that he was selling the Triforce, or he was trying to like barter to get into Ganon's good graces with the Triforce, but it was bees.
they just keep winging more bees at him.
Okay.
Zelda builds a trebuchet for bees.
Yes. Oh my god. So they did get some Ewok traps in there. Okay. So at this point, Ganon, his forces, they are repelled by the bugs, and they retreat back to the Piggy Palace, assumably.
So good.
And Zelda, she seems DTK. If this is your first episode, that's down to kiss. But Link kind of blows it with some bee puns.
Yeah, she says, "I hate bad puns,"
right?
And that's her excuse not to kiss him this time.
I think Zelda goes, "Hey Link, how about a kiss?" And Link goes, "That would be great, honey." And then she just dries up. And then they watch as Sleazenose runs into the woods, chased by these bees. And the last line is Zelda saying, "And that's how you sting a stinger." That's
okay. Well, I think
hold on. I'm just gonna give this.
Let her have a slow clap. I'm sorry. This is, I think, in the commentary, but I think it's worth bringing up here. Is like at this point, and this is probably the same dynamic that they're playing on that they pulled from the show Moonlighting, which there was a mild, tiny bit of discourse about it on Twitter, where this writer comedian I follow posted something like, "Yeah, I'm revisiting Moonlighting right now, and like I didn't know like what a big deal this show was." And then there's like people trying to jump in like, "You didn't know it was like the biggest show on TV?"
No,
and
no one did.
And she's like, I wasn't born. Sorry.
Dude, Twitter sucks. Fuck Twitter.
It's the worst.
Fuck Reddit. Fuck Twitter. Fuck all these like anonymous assholes that are just
and you
so
know like
high
the people dunking on her are probably like just like also loser like 19-year-olds who just hung out on Reddit and Wikipedia and like whatever. Anyway,
I'd take solace in the fact that they're miserable people.
Yeah, but like that's all to say like this dynamic of sort of like wielding her sexuality is, I assume, I'm not going to watch that show for research.
Well, we're going to do an episode for the Patreon probably.
Maybe,
we'll do a commentary
maybe we should watch
of episode 1 of Moonlighters.
Yeah, I'd be down. But like that's a weird dynamic, and it comes from that whole, I think, that sort of like weird incels of the guys who were in writers' rooms.
Yeah.
But it comes off of the show as like, at a certain point, honey, it's just like you're lying about your sexuality, you're being manipulative. Like you're either like purely being manipulative, you're asexual, or you're not straight. And like the nice thing to do would just be like to have the sit down with him, like friend zone. Okay, if that's okay with you, let's maintain.
Yeah. Strictly professional relationship.
Yeah, that would be like the emotionally mature thing to do at a certain point, because it's getting pretty obvious she's not as DTK as she keeps saying.
Do you think? What do you think Sprite can do for Zelda?
I don't want that. There's some weird.
She probably fits in a bed, like in a nightstand.
There's like there's something about when you start thinking about Zelda or not Sprite and Link's relationship. I'm like, there's something about it would be illegal. I don't know what, but it makes me uncomfortable.
I'm just saying, Sprite could do more for Zelda than she could do for Link, I assume.
Anyway.
Well, campers, that's all we got for you this week. Give us a follow on Instagram at campvideogames.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube with the video. I don't know if we've ever mentioned the fact that if you're only listening to us audio, you can every episode of this show that we call Camp Video Games. There's also a video side of it on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see.
You should definitely subscribe to the YouTube.
You subscribe to the YouTube.
Look up Camp Video Games on YouTube.
Give us an email, campvideogames@gmail.com. Give me some recommendations for other maybe one-off episodes that we could do, because we're looking through movies. We're looking through the first episodes of certain shows. I recently just watched episode 1 of the mid-90s Street Fighter cartoon. It's a Western production, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm trying to convince Josh to maybe do a Street Fighter series.
I don't know about a whole series, but Street Fighter 6 did come out this week, so maybe we do a little bit of Street Fighter 2, a little bit of Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, we'll
kind of
see.
the same thing we're doing here. I don't know.
But give us some ideas. Tell us what you'd like to, what you would like to pay money for at this patreon.com/campvideogames. Any other business, Josh?
I think this might be the episode that defines us as media darlings or cancels us.
Ooh, thank you. And with that,
there was a lot of really just right on the knife's edge of which way are these guys going with whether they're problematic or champions of whatever.
We're princes of the universe.
Of wokeness.
Princes of the universe.
That's right where I like to live, right on that knife's edge.
Yeah. Campers, thanks for joining us. See you next time here at Camp Video Games.
Later.
If you'd like to write to us, send a message to campvideogames@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Camp Video Games. If you want to become a real happy camper, you can support Camp Video Games on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll be granted access to even more discussions about movie-based video games, game-based movies, full-length commentaries, playthroughs, and more. Whether you sign up or not, we're glad to have you here at Camp Video Games.